Hi everyone, how are you doing today? It's episode 51 of the More in You podcast. So excited. I'm so excited. I can't believe it's been almost 1 year of doing this week in, week out, whether I feel like or I don't feel like. But you know what I want to say? I actually want to say thank you. I'm going to do a lot of that next week, but this week I just want to say thank you to even to my to my viewers, people that tune in, week out. Those of you that, each time I drop the episode, either on YouTube or you listen on Spotify, you listen on Apple Podcast, you listen on Google Podcast. I just want to say thank you so much for being there, for listening, because if you don't do that, guess what? We're just going to be talking. So I'm so excited about today's episode. Next week, we're going to have a celebration, but let's get into today's episode. I'm just so excited. So today, my topic is actually something that is really, really dear to my heart. I'm talking about 6 steps to help you write your book in 30 days. So today's episode is actually dedicated to people that know that God has given them a message and they want to bring that message to the world through writing. There are various ways in which we express the gifts that God has put on the inside of us. And one of those ways is writing. For me, writing is really, really dear to my heart just because I started to write at the age of about 8, 9. I don't know exactly the age, but about 8, 9, I started to write. I remember at least that. I've always loved to read. Like when I was little, what I would do is if I'm going out, I would always have a book in my purse. I would always have a book, I would always hold a book. I've always been like that. I remember when I was growing up, the books that we used to read were, I would almost say they were called pace setters. There were a lot of meals and books. There were a lot of books that we used to read growing up. But I always had a book and I was always looking out to buy a new book. Every little money that I think that somebody gave to me, I was always thinking I have to get a new book. So that was how dear reading was to me. I always just had a love for reading. And what I found out is interesting that because when you have a love for reading, you would have a love for writing. It kind of goes hand in hand. If you read a lot, you will write it. And so today, really, I want to just, this podcast is called the More in You podcast. And one of the ways that we express the more that we have within us is by bringing the message we have to our world. And one of the ways you bring that message to your world, like I said earlier, is by writing. It's through writing, by writing that message, by putting that message. This week, I shared a post in which I was talking about 5 reasons why you must write the book that that's sitting in your heart. It's I always I say it's beyond you because writing takes us beyond us. And I remember I shared that story of Miles Monroe who left Barbados and traveled to Greece at one point in time with his wife. He said they were going on a vacation and he really just wanted to unwind, to just have fun, to just relax. So they purposely booked, to stay in a little village in Greece. And he said the interesting was that on one of the evenings they were going for a walk. And as they went for a walk, he just heard a lady shouting, Miles, 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 is that you, Miles? Stop. And he's like, who knows me here? Like, who would be, who would know me in this little village? And so he said they stopped, and the lady said to him, wait, wait, wait. And apparently she ran back in. I think she ran back into her house, grabbed some of his books, and ran back and said, I am just reading one of your books. I have your books. And he said that was one of the days that he really saw the power of writing a book. Because he said if that lady had not come out, there was no way he might most likely have reached a woman like that in that little village in Greece. But because he wrote in Barbados, sitting there, guess what? His book was, somebody bought it, somebody sold it. Or she could have picked it on Amazon. She could have picked it in a bookstore, just picked it somewhere. But he was able to reach that woman because of that book that he wrote. And so he said that was the day that the power of writing hit him. And so I said, when you write a book, it's really going beyond you. Writing is not about you. It's about you bringing the message that God has put on the inside of you and just bringing it to the world to which He has called you to impact and influence. And so when we write, a lot of time, writing is the way in which we express that which God has put on the inside of us. And so what are we doing? We're bringing that message in a place whereby even when we're no more here, that message outlives you. That it just came to me as I shared that. So there is a reason why we must write. Some of the reasons are, you write because that is the way that we experience the flavor which you carry within. I always say that every one of us has a flavor, and each of us is called to unleash the flavor within us. And so one of the ways that you unleash your flavor is what? By bringing that message to your world in various ways. For those of us that are speakers, that are coaches, we express our flavor through speaking. The way I will speak is not how 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 other speakers will speak, but I would bring out my uniqueness even in the way I speak. When I write a book, you would see a piece of my uniqueness in the book that I write, and you will be able to glean also from my wealth of experience when I write a book. A lot of people they know things about so many. They know so many things about, how they know so many things about different fields, but we would never know because they have decided to keep it to themselves. Do you know it's interesting? Because some of the things that somebody out there just needs one or two of those ideas that you have, that you're thinking is not going to make sense to, this doesn't really, this is not a big deal. But to somebody else that is going to read it, they're thinking, wow, I can do a lot with just 1 or 2 points of what you know on that subject. For some people, it's a subject, it's on parenting. For some people, it's on, it's on purpose. That's some of us. For some people, it's on relationships. For some people, it's on science. For some people, it's on communication. Whatever field you have been called to, guess what? There are people that God is calling you to in that field, and writing is one of the ways that you bring that flavor out and you begin to help people in that area. Another thing that writing does for us is that writing helps you to become an authority in your field. And you might say, how? Because before you write a book, you do a lot of research. And guess what? In the doing the research, you are learning. In the doing the research, you are growing. So as you do that research, guess what? The more you learn, the more you can share with other people. And so it is so important for us to do what? To say, all that I know is not going to end with me. I am going to bring it to my word and I'm going to share it with somebody. So it helps us, to bring what we know, our wealth of experience. It helps us position it helps us to position us as authorities in our field, but it also helps you to bring your wealth of experience to other people. Another thing I want to put the point of that I mentioned even with Miles Monroe is writing your book, writing your story, writing what you know helps you to it helps to outlive you. It's beyond you. It goes beyond you. It now lives on. Your wealth of experience goes into other generations. Your wealth of experience can help somebody maybe in the next 10, 15, 20, 25, 35, 50 years if Jesus hasn't come. Miles Monroe died a couple of years ago, but every time you pick up his book, guess what? You are getting wealth of experience from what he has left behind. Imagine if he did not write as many books as he wrote. One of his popular books, The Pursuit of Purpose, is so popular, and that book is loaded. Why do we read it? Because every time you look into it, if I tell someone, I say it's not even a book, it's a manual. Every time you look into that book, you are gleaning from it. But imagine if he had died with that in his belly, if he had just taken it to the grave. And so one of the things I do as a purpose midwife is I tell people, I said, you are called to, if you have a message, you have a book in you. And so you are called to write that which God has put on the inside of you. Write it in the form of a book so somebody else can learn from you, so that somebody else can glean from you, so that somebody else can, that outlives you can glean from your wealth of experience. So it can go into other generations. That's the start of this. But let me share with you now 6 steps. And so one of the things that I do as a purpose midwife is we started this, this has been one of the things that has been on my heart for so many years. Like I mentioned to you that growing up, I used to write as an 8, 9-year-old child. And I remember when I was little, I used to write fictional stories, and I would put them. I would write them, and I would just keep them. And I said to myself when I was younger, oh, when I grow up, I'm going to publish these books. I'm going to help other people publish their books. But guess what? Life happened, and I never did. And I'm so grateful for 2015. when my journey of purpose really started. And I remember when I went to God, I said, God, what have you created me to do? What have you called me to do? I remember God saying to me, that was the first thing he said to me. Remember, you used to write as a child. That thing is stuck in my memory. And I said to him, I'm asking you what you've created me to do. I'm asking you what my purpose is. You are saying to me, remember, you used to write. Isn't it interesting? How could I have forgotten that I used to write? It's so interesting. And so that woke up in me, it kind of rekindled my love for writing. And so as it reminded me, he took me on this journey of, it was about 6 months of just sitting there with him, just journaling and writing these little cards that later became a manuscript of a devotional. And I would just sit there and I would just write, and I would sit there and I would just write. And as I wrote, guess what? I began to rekindle that love for writing. And that has now evolved, whereby this month makes it, I think, 11 books that I've written. 3 that just like this year, 4 of them just came out. So we're in the process of launching some of them. It's just so interesting. But why am I sharing that? Because sometimes we have gifts that are buried within us that we're not even harnessing yet. They're meant to come out. And sometimes we just have to start where we are with what we have. So maybe you're someone, you've been saying, yes, I know I have a book in me, but I don't even know how to write it. That was me at the time. And I remember I said to him, I remember when God said to me, we're going to be writing that devotional, because what happened was, when he started to take me on that journey of rekindling my love for writing, he said to me, just write 1 card a day. And so as I wrote 1 card, I got used. It was increasing my capacity, but I got used to writing that 1 card. And then gradually he increased it to 3 cards a day. I remember I would say, I don't know how to, but every time I sat down to just write, he would just download to me and I'll be able to write. And then I increased it to 5 cards a day. And then within 2 months, he said to me, actually, all those cards you're writing out are going to become a 365-day devotional that will be finished on the 31st of December 2015. And I said, no, I can't do it. That's so hard. How am I going to do it? This is not possible. But I remember he said to me, if you let me help you, we will do this. And I said, okay, Lord, if you want to help me, I will do this. And guess what? He started to help me. He told me to look up how many days are left in the year. That was October 2015. I remember looking at him and I found out that I had to write 8 cards a day to be able to meet up to finish the 365 on the 31st of December. And I would be like, how do I write 8 cards a day? But every time I sat there obediently to write, he would just download to me what to write. And it was so powerful. And that was how the writing journey started. And that was how I went. And then all of a sudden I started to dream again. He started to birth new dreams. And that was, it was so exciting that I had come to seek what he had called me to do, purpose. But he had now begun to birth dreams in me. And one of them was going back to my childhood dream, of writing. So God is so interesting the way he births things in us. As maybe you're somebody listening to it, you're somebody watching, and you have always desired to write a book, but maybe you're saying, I don't know how. I don't know. I've tried writing. I even started writing. I dumped it. I put it by the side. It was so hard. I just said, I can't do this. Then this really is for you. So I'm going to be sharing today just 6 steps that can help you write your book in 30 days. And don't think that it's not doable, because it is. It really is. And I'll tell you how it is at the end. So the very first step in writing your book in 30 days is you must believe you can. Remember my story. I said to God, I remember when he started to me, this is going to be a 365-day devotion. I was like, no, I can't do this. This is too hard. And he said, if you let me help you, I will. And I said, okay. So guess what? I had to believe that I could write it. Nobody was going to write that book for me. I had to sit there and I had to be ready to put in the work, and I had to just sit there. And because I believed it, guess what? The very start of writing that book is believing you can. The word of God says that to him that believes, all things are possible. I love this quote by Henry Ford that says, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. That's a quote by Henry Ford. If you think you can, you're right. If you think you can't, you're right. Why is he saying that? Because your belief is all up to you. Nobody else can do anything for you except what you believe. Another quote by Theodore Roosevelt says, believe you can and you're halfway there. Can you imagine? Belief is such a huge thing, because it's a mindset. Once you condition your mind that I can't do it, the word of God says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So if you believe you can, guess what? You are already halfway there. And I truly believe that, because when you believe you can, I found that when you believe you can, strategies to do it begin to come to you. And so that is what I really do in my 30-day writers bootcamp. In March, April, we had the first cohort, and it was interesting because in that first cohort, we had 4 of the ladies that was their first time of writing. I think it was that so they were first time authors. 2 of them were really like, I haven't written before, I can't write. And so we started where they were. We're thinking this is a boot camp, so we're all gonna do this together. And guess what? We started working. I started working with them week in, week out. For the 4 weeks, we were working together on the boot camp. And by the end of the boot camp, guess what? The body of their work was done, of their manuscript was done. It was just so exciting to see that they could believe that they could bring this. They could believe that they could bring this out of them. This was sitting in them. They had the ability, but they didn't know how they were going to do it. And so as I worked with them, they were able to do this. It was so powerful. So the first step is believe you can. And then we start the journey. Believe you can write that book. Believe you can write that book. Somebody say, if you're listening, you're watching, say, I believe I can write that book. Yes. And you can do it in 30 days. Trust me, you can. I'll show you how. Number 2 is ask yourself questions. Ensure you, so you must have a why. So one of the biggest questions is, why am I writing this book? What is the purpose of writing this book? What is this book going to do for people? How is this book going to, what is the reason behind writing a book? I shared some of them with you when I mentioned the reasons why you must write your book. So writing goes beyond you, like I'll keep on saying. So why are you writing that book? It's not, are you writing? You're not just writing to show off. If you have a why, that I'm writing to birth everything God has put on the inside of me. Miles Monroe often says that the graveyard is the richest place on earth. Why? Because that is where you have people that take dreams that they never brought to the world. They take it to the grave. Songs that were never written is taken to the grave. Books that were never written is taken to the grave. Ideas that were sitting in people's minds were taken to the grave. Our inventions on people's hearts were taken to the grave. So you don't want to take that book that you know that God has put in you. You might not even have a title for it, but you have it. You know that book is sitting in you. Guess what? You ask yourself, why am I writing this book? What is the why? You know why I'm saying to talk about the why? Because when you know the why, one of my mentors says, purpose is the why that answers every other why. When you know the why, the purpose of a thing, once it's known, abuse is inevitable. Which means that when there's a purpose for writing that book, you will be stirred up to just want to write it for that purpose. So that every time you feel like, I can't do this anymore, go back to that why. Go back to that why. You know, Simon Sinek has this book called Start with Why. He has a couple of books actually on that phrase why, on that word why. So you might want to pick up one of those books, Start with Why. He has a couple of them. So guess what? Why are you writing the book? So you must ask yourself questions. Who is God asking me to write this book for? Why am I writing this book? How is this book going to benefit people? What good is this book going to do? Because when you start to write the why, you would begin to be stirred up. You begin to think of what to write. You begin to think of how to write. You begin to think of, I must write this book. My generation must read this book. My world out there must read this book. This book must be a blessing. So that why is what stirs you up. So you can't sit down until you finish that book. That was what happened to my son. We had been trying to get him to write for a couple of years when he had his battle with leukemia. And God had healed him. We had seen God do so many things in his life. And we just wanted him to share his story to encourage other people that God can also do, God can also do beyond the impossible. He can do beyond the impossible. And so as we spoke to him, he didn't want to write it. He was really young at the time. So me and my husband said, okay, we're going to leave him. When he's ready, he'll write the book. But he had gone with me to a conference in Dallas with Teresa Foy, one of my mentors. And as we sat in that room with her, she said one thing. She said, someone in need is waiting at the other end of your obedience. And my 14-year-old son, he was 14 at the time, he's 19 now. He turned to me and said, Mommy, it's time to write my book. And I said, no, at first he said, Mommy, she's talking to me. And I said, what do you mean? She said, what she just said, she's talking to me. And I thought he was just joking. He said, Mommy, it's time to write my book. So I didn't realize the impact of what she had said to him. Guess what? When we got to the hotel that afternoon, my son started writing. He decided to just the strategies. He said he began to think now, because she was saying that Somebody needs to hear the message you're carrying. Somebody's waiting on you, obeying to write that book. And so that was the why for him. He began to think, I can't take this book to the grave. I need to write it because somebody's waiting on my obedience. And so I remember we got on the plane, he was writing. He was telling me about what he was going to write about. He was remembering the stories of what happened at the hospital. And he just began to write. When we got home, he started to write. He shared the idea with my husband, shared it with his siblings. We said, okay, we're going to join you and put our own parts to the book. He started to write the book. And he did not stop until he finished that book. He even went ahead to say, Terry Savelle, you're gonna do the forward for the book, and she eventually did the forward for his book. It's so interesting. It's so interesting how a why can move you to do what you thought you are not able to do. We had tried, but when he got a why, guess what? He began to think, I have to write this book. And that's how he wrote that book it was released in 2020. So exciting. Number 3 is decide to be committed to staying. Decide to be committed to starting and finishing the book. You must decide to be committed to it, to starting and finishing the book. So it's not just enough to start the book. It is more important to finish the book. I had a coaching client that came to me in 2020. And January 2020, she had been writing her book from 2019. She had written introduction. She couldn't finish the book. She came to me and I said to her, I shared some tips with her. Why do you need to write this book? And she began to think about it. She got committed to finishing that book. And so we shared some things. I said, okay, well, I'm going to have 4 sessions with you. This book must be finished. Guess what? After session 1, she went home and she said, the things that I asked her to do, she began to just do them. And, it was so interesting. In 10 days, she finished that book. Every time I remember her story, I'm like, whoa, she finished that book in 10 days. So why am I sharing this? There is something powerful about a why. There's something powerful about you being committed. Vince Lombardi said this: most people fail not because of a lack of desire, but a lack of commitment. They don't fail because they have a desire, but are you going to be committed? When you look at athletes do so well because they are committed to the cause. Athletes say, you know what, I'm doing the 400 meters at the Olympics. I don't care what I need to do, but I'm going to be committed to this cause. I'm going to eat the right way, and I choose to eat healthily. Why? Because I need to get to the Olympics. So they put that goal before them. They set that goal and they say, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to achieve this goal. And so that commitment drives them to do things they might not normally have done. But because they said they're going to be committed to that goal, guess what? They keep going, they keep going, they keep going, they keep going until and what happens that they see the Olympics, they see the gold medal. That is their aim. Until they get there, they put commitment before them. And so you want to write your book in 30 days, you must stay committed to starting and finishing it. Number 4, Will Smith actually also says this. He says the road to success is through commitment. Will Smith. So you must stay committed. You see a lot of them. They win the Oscars. They win the Grammys. It doesn't just happen. Commitment is a big part of it. They have to be intentional about staying committed to it, or else it's not just going to happen. Number 4 is you have to design a plan for the 30 days before you start. There must be a plan. What do I want to write about? What is my goal? There must be a plan for the 30 days. And that's one of the things that I help people to do on my Writers Bootcamp. I'm so excited about doing that. I have this email template that I send out every day for 30 days. So you have a plan. You're sitting there thinking, this is what I want to write about. But sometimes you want to do it and then you're thinking, I need someone to just hold my hand. And so I'm so glad that as a purpose midwife, one of the things that I do is I help people to birth what they have within them. So now my job is to come alongside you and say, I can help you do this. I can help you birth this. So you must have a plan in place. How am I going to write this book? What am I going to write on day 1? And that's where I come alongside you. I give you each day a prompt of what you need to write. So that even if you have a writer's block, you're thinking, I'm stuck. When you get those things, email prompts every day, guess what's going to happen? I can do this. So at the start of the 30 days, guess what? You get you get a prompt to say these are the things that you're going to do in each of the 30 days. So you're ready to go, ready, steady, go. Day 1, you start with it and you have the goal before you. 30 days, I'm doing these 30 things. 30 days, I'm doing 30 things. And guess what? It happens exactly as I said. Number 5 is follow the plan. So now we've designed this 30-day plan. Don't just jump aside and begin to do another thing. You must follow the plan. When an athlete is going to go to the Olympics, often a lot of them get coaches, and their coaches often would draw up a plan for them. They would often have a health plan. a meal plan, I would say, they would often have, an exercise regiment, which is an exercise plan. Everything is planned out. Olympics does not just happen, and also winning the gold and the silver and the bronze doesn't just happen. There is always a plan. So what is the plan going to be for writing this book? So once we put the plan, that's number 4. Number 5 is we must follow the plan, and that's where I come in to help you to follow that plan. So exciting. So if you want to write your book, you must have that plan. If you're doing it by yourself, you must have a plan. What am I going to do on day 1? What am I going to do on day 5? What am I going to do on day 7? That plan helps you to just look to the end. If I can just follow this plan, guess what? I'm going to arrive at day 30. If I can just follow the plan, I'm going to arrive at day 30. You just have it in view and you keep doing it. Yes. And guess what? You might be thinking, this is not possible. It is, because we did it March 15 to April 15 of this year. It was done by 7 people. I helped 7 people to write their books. They're done. So now they're giving it to the editor. They're getting it ready for publishing. I'm so excited. Why? Because it was me seeing them bringing out the gold that they have within them. It's me seeing them bringing out the books that the world is waiting for to read from them. And number 6 is one of my favorite things, and that is be intentional about following the work. Be intentional about putting in the work so that you can see the result. You have to be intentional about putting in the work. If you don't put in the work, you will not see the results. A lot of people want to see the result. Oh, yes, I can write my book in 30 days. You have to put in the work. So you're going to have to be committed to be consistent, day in, day out. Day 1, I'm going to do this. Day 2, I'm going to do this. Day 3, I'm going to do this. Day 4, I'm going to do this. Day 5, I'm going to do this. Each day, I'm going to do this. And guess what? As you stay committed to it, guess what's going to happen? You're going to see the results. You are going to see the results. And I tell you, I said, at the end of the 30 days, what I found is that we might not have the end of it, because a lot of us, what we want to put finishing touches, but you have the body of the book. You are so excited. You're like, yes, my book is getting finished. And sometimes that book has been sitting in your heart maybe for 10 years, that you've been thinking, how am I going to get it done? But now you see the body of the book and you get excited. You're like, yes, it's happening. Yes, it's happening. So for somebody sitting there and saying, I am ready, I want to write my book this year, this second half of the year, I want to get this done. I have the cohort 2 of the Writers Bootcamp coming up between the 2nd and the 31st of July 2022, which is just about 2 weeks time. We're going to be starting, and I said to you, it's an awesome group because it's the accountability. One of the ladies that signed up during the cohort 1 said she has started writing her book, but because there was no accountability, guess what? She stopped. And so her main reason for coming to that cohort was to make herself accountable. And so because now we have Zoom meetings twice a week where we meet and we say, do you have any questions? Where are you? Can we help you? So now it's like a community. We are helping each other, saying, okay, how can I help you? In which area are you stuck? Let's help you do this. And that's how it's been. And because we're stirring each other up, we have a Facebook accountability group. We post the number of words we write per day. So people are stirred up to write what God has called them to write. If you don't want to do it, people are calling out other people. We haven't seen your work. How is it going? What are you doing? Do you need us to help you? So now you are stirred up that you're in a community. You just want to write. You want to do it as God has called you to do. And so if you're one of those people, I want to just invite you to join us on the cohort 2 of the Writers Bootcamp. It's happening on those days I mentioned, 2nd to the 31st of July. We have 2 Zoom meetings a week. We have the Facebook accountability group. We have we're going to have a WhatsApp platform as well, where we can drop questions. We can always drop ideas. If somebody is struggling, we can help that person. That's another thing. And also I do a one-on-one clarity session with us at the very start, a 30-minute clarity session, whereby we talk about your book idea. How can I help you? So it's a whole lot. And the bonuses, you get my book, Intentionality, the Game Changer. There is just so much. I'm so excited about this. So if this is you, whereby you know that God has put a book in you and you're called to write your book, I want to help you write your book in 30 days. I want to help you start this journey of becoming an author. Maybe it's been a dream for you. Maybe there's someone that you know. You can send this podcast to them. Let them join the Writers Bootcamp. And guess what? At the end of 30 days, we can say, yes, we did it together. That's one of the things that give me joy when I see others, bringing all they have within them to the waiting world. Yes. So if that's you, I will drop a link below. If you're watching on YouTube, there will be a link for you to be able to to be able to download I'm going to have like a little workbook today so that you can actually see the points I shared today. There'll be the link to also join the Writers Bootcamp. And guess what? We can't wait to have you. If you're joining, I can't wait to have you on board. It's going to be a phenomenal time. And if you want to find out more about this, or you want to find out how to sign up, how to join, all you just need to do is go to oluolabode.com/write. oluolabode.com/write. And guess what? You can sign up for the Writers Bootcamp. It's going to be a phenomenal time. And the early bird prize actually ends on the 20th of June. So if you want to jump in, please jump in fast. It's going to be exciting. And I'll see you next week for Celebration episode 52. Bye, everyone.